12 minutes. That is the difference between a smooth evening in Gastown and being trapped in a 54,000-person bottleneck at Stadium Chinatown Station. BC Place is a mechanical marvel with a negotiable sky, but your World Cup experience will not be defined by the retractable roof. It will be defined by how you leave. I am going to show you why following the crowd after the final whistle is a slow-motion mistake and how a simple 900-meter walk to Waterfront can save your entire night. Across the water, the North Shore Mountains are already there, sitting like a wall that does not care whether you noticed it or not. Snow still clings to the higher peaks in June, like the season is slightly behind schedule, and nobody bothered to correct it. You check the distance to downtown. 12 miles. It sounds like nothing. It also sounds like something that could take an hour depending on how you move, but it does not. 42 minutes on the SkyTrain if you do not overthink it, $7. No drama. Just a straight line through a city that quietly functions better than it advertises. And here's the first thing people get wrong. BC Place is not a trip into the city. It is the city. It sits there in the center like it was dropped into place and everything else just grew around it afterward. Most hotels are within walking distance if you are willing to call 15 minutes a walk. That detail changes everything about your match day without you realizing it yet. There is no stadium pilgrimage here, no long convoy of cars, no suburban sprawl funneling into a single road. You just arrive, and then you look up, because nobody really prepares you for the roof. BC Place sits on the edge of False Creek, a quiet cut of water that runs through downtown Vancouver, like someone decided the city needed a pause button. The stadium was originally built in 1983, which shows in the bones if you know where to look. But it was rebuilt in 2011 into something completely different. The old inflatable dome is gone. What replaced it is a cable-supported retractable roof that opens and closes like the building is breathing. It is enormous. Not just big in a sports sense, but mechanically heavy in a way you feel when you learn the number. 350 tons of moving structure suspended above 54,000 seats. And it does not open quickly like modern things are supposed to. It takes about 20 minutes, slowly, deliberately, like the stadium is thinking about it. When it moves, the sound inside changes before your eyes even register it. That is the part nobody explains properly. It is not just visual. The air shifts. Pressure redistributes. Conversations feel different for a moment, like the building has exhaled. And suddenly the whole idea of weather becomes optional. That is the strange thing about this place. It is the only stadium in the tournament where the sky is negotiable. Roof open, you get Vancouver. Mountains, light, air moving freely. Roof closed, you get containment. Noise trapped, compressed, thrown back down into the bowl like the building is holding it all in. You do not get to choose. That decision is made for you. Weather, broadcast requirements, pitch conditions, timing. You find out when you arrive. Which means part of the experience is always out of your hands, even if you planned everything else down to the minute. Getting there is simple enough that it almost feels like a trick. From the airport, you have 4 options, but only one actually makes sense once you understand the city. The SkyTrain Canada line is the one locals use without thinking about it. $6.95, about 26 minutes to Waterfront. 1 transfer, 1 stop, then a short walk, and you are basically there. 42 minutes total if everything lines up, which it usually does. Taxis are fine, but they drop you at your hotel, not the stadium, which sounds small until you realize you will just end up walking or taking transit anyway. Ride apps are the same story with more variability and no real advantage. And renting a car is the kind of decision that makes sense on paper and falls apart in practice. Parking downtown is expensive, limited, and already spoken for days before kickoff. So you take the train. The real issue is not arriving. It is leaving. Before the match, everything feels easy. Stadium Chinatown Station is 200 meters away. A short walk, straightforward. After the match, that same station becomes something else entirely. 54,000 people thinking the same thought at the same time. The platform fills faster than it empties. Trains come every few minutes, but each one carries a standing crowd that looks like it has already accepted its fate. You do the math without meaning to. You are not waiting for transportation. You are waiting for space. And then you learn what most people only figure out too late. There is another station. Waterfront is 900 meters away, about 12 minutes if you walk normally. After a match, that walk becomes the smartest decision you did not know you were supposed to make. The streets are busy but not stuck. People spread out. The density breaks. By the time you reach Waterfront, the crowd has thinned just enough that you move straight through. You board immediately instead of negotiating with physics. There is also Gastown, which nobody tells you about in official guides in a way that feels intentional. It sits slightly off to the side of everything. Old brick streets, gas lamps still glowing at night like the city has not fully updated that part of itself yet. After a match, it becomes a pressure valve. Everyone ends up there eventually. Fans, locals, people who just need somewhere to stand that is not a line. You eat something. You sit outside. You watch the noise of the match dissolve into normal conversation again, and then you leave later when it is easier. Inside the stadium, it feels different depending on when you look up. With the roof closed, BC Place becomes tight in a way you do not expect from something that large. The fabric ceiling glows when light hits it, like the entire structure is holding a soft, artificial sky in place. It is not oppressive, but it is contained. Sound does not escape. It stacks. It builds on itself. That is why it gets loud. Not just crowd loud, but physically loud. The kind of volume you feel in your chest more than your ears. There was a match here that reportedly hit over 136 decibels. That number does not mean much until you feel the way your body reacts to it. With the roof open, everything relaxes. The noise lifts upward. The city comes back into the picture. The mountains return to the frame. It becomes less intense, more open, but also slightly less unified. Like the stadium has stopped trying to contain you. Neither version is better. They just feel like two different places using the same address. And then there is the rest of it. The pricing, the food, the reality of being inside a World Cup venue in a city that is not trying to overwhelm you. Tickets range from being far away from the action to being close enough to hear contact. Food is expensive, but not insulting. Hotels are priced like they know what month it is. Everything works. That is the quiet truth about Vancouver. It does not force anything. The shape of your day ends up being simple. You arrive, you move through a city that does not fight you. You watch a match in a stadium that can change its own atmosphere. And afterward, your experience is decided less by what seat you bought and more by whether you understood how people leave. That is the part nobody really tells you. Not the roof, not the mountains, not even the stadium itself. It is the exit that defines it. And once you understand that, BC Place stops being just a venue. It becomes a system you either flow through smoothly or get temporarily stuck inside with everyone else who did not think about it in time.